So, you want to save the world with clean energy? Make money doing it? Confused about the economic and technical realities of residential and commercial solar, batteries, heat pumps, EVs? Want the real-world scoop on new energy technologies, not manufacturer hype? Then tune in to the Weekly Energy Show, hosted by Barry Cinnamon. Insights from Barry's 40-plus years in the solar and energy industry will help you understand the future ways we'll generate and consume energy. And now, here's Barry.
Welcome to this week's Energy Show. Now, rooftop solar produces power during the day. Sun's up, got power, right? So with net metering, which everybody's entitled to if they get connected with the utility, we can run our electric meter backwards with the excess power and get full retail credit for this excess energy. So we kind of don't need to store it. It's like a 100% efficient battery. But utilities hate net metering, so they're starting to limit its benefits. They're changing the reimbursement rate. They're changing the time of use period so that when you want to run your electric meter backwards in the middle of the day, you're only getting 20 cents a kilowatt hour instead of maybe the 50 cents that they charge you in the afternoon. And they're adding charges like demand charges, which means that they're not just charging you for your kilowatt hours, but they're charging you for your peak kilowatt demand. Or in some cases, in some states, they're eliminating net metering outright. They're saying you can't run the meter backwards, which is kind of a bummer. It's very inefficient, but hey, the reason is they're losing money. They want to put a stop to it. That's what they're doing. So the thing is, the technology changes faster than the utility regulations. What's happening now is battery storage systems are becoming cost-effective that can be added to a rooftop solar system to recapture these lost benefits. So with batteries, you can save your energy during the day and use it in afternoons and at night when the power is more expensive. So even if the utility changes their time of use periods, even if they limit the net metering, you can say, hey, the hell with it. I'm going to store my own power in my batteries. I'm going to use it when you're charging me a lot. So with these systems, and some of them, you can also get backup power from your battery storage system. It's kind of nice. There's a blackout. Hey, you got batteries. I don't care. I'm happy. And, eventually maybe we're going to completely disconnect from the utility, but that's going to be a long way away. In the meantime, these battery storage systems are becoming practical. So there's a lot of systems on the market now, but sometimes the hype gets ahead of the reality. So on this show, we're going to be doing a hands-on review of one of the first battery storage systems from a company that I really like called Enphase Energy. So these reviews are based on the installation and usage of each system using commercially available products and software provided by the manufacturers. Our team at Cinnamon Solar does these reviews and installations themselves. And the intent is to provide useful real-world experience to both customers, homeowners, and businesses, but also installers and manufacturers so that they can get feedback from installers on these behind-the-meter battery storage systems. So for more information about this review, kind of the details, if you want to go back and check, you can listen to the podcast again and again, but go to our website or go to our reviews update at www.spicesolar.com/resources/storage. Okay, so let's dig into the review on the Enphase AC battery system. It's a modular AC-coupled battery storage system that's designed for residential customers with and without grid-tied solar power systems. So let me back up. I hit you with a lot of jargon there first. Okay. AC-coupled means that the solar is not directly connected to the battery. So you can have a DC coupled system where the solar charges the battery, or AC coupled where the battery actually charges off of AC power. And it's designed for people who already have solar, and it's designed for people that may not have solar but still want a battery storage system to maximize their savings. Now, each modular battery is composed of a 1.2 kilowatt hour lithium iron phosphate battery and a small inverter, 280 watt inverter, in a little box that hangs on the wall. It's 55 pounds. It's kind of like a little microwave oven. Little one, toaster oven. So these things are modular. If you need 4.8 kilowatts of storage, you just put 4 of these little 1.2 kilowatt hour things on the wall. They'll just hang on. They all kind of attach together. It's great. So the Enphase storage system is ideal for customers who want to store their locally generated energy or their grid energy so that the energy can be consumed during peak electric periods, and that's going to reduce your total electric charges, right? So charge this thing up at night when electricity is cheap, and then you use the power in the day or in the afternoon when it's expensive. So the key benefits of the Enphase system is that the equipment's relatively inexpensive. We're not talking about something that costs 20 grand. And believe me, that's what most of the other ones cost. And we're not talking about something that's going to take a long time to install. It's really simple. And it's also modular, so you can add more onto it later. And since it's AC coupled, it does not require a PV system to operate. So even if you don't have photovoltaic system, it's okay. Even if you have an old photovoltaic system, we don't have to connect into it. It's all kind of automatic. Now, the downside of it is it doesn't provide backup power. I'm going to repeat that one more time. The Enphase AC storage system does not provide backup power, but sometimes people get a generator for $500. Actually, that's what I have at home. All right. So the simplicity and the modular nature of the Enphase storage system make it one of the most straightforward systems to design, and they have a design tool called the Enphase AC battery sizing tool. This is what your installer is going to use to install. So there's a little bit of technology involved, but Enphase has an installer toolkit that works on a smartphone. And to operate, so they have this website called Enlighten. It's a web portal. It makes it really easy for homeowners to see how much they're adding into the battery, the condition of the battery, how much it's charged up, and how much it's discharging and at what times. And it's easy to maintain. Enphase is also an established solar equipment supplier with a reputation for delivering good product and service quality. I mean, I've been using Enphase since 2009. So kind of the overall rating is, as we've tested, and I'm just talking about the Cinnamon Solar star rating system. I got out of 5 stars, I'm giving them 4 stars for equipment costs. And by the way, the Enphase system is one of the cheapest ones out there. In terms of ease of installation, 5 stars, really easy. Customer friendliness, 5 stars, really easy for homeowners to see and access because they've done a great job on the software. Now, as far as backup power, no stars, doesn't provide backup power. So what applications does the Enphase system support? It supports optimized self-consumption of the solar power that you generate, so you can use it when you want it instead of when the sun's shining. It allows you to manage your bill based on time period, so it's time of use bill management, so you can kind of time shift when you're buying utility power. It allows you to limit the amount of power that's exported to the grid, so you can say, I don't want to sell any back, or I want to sell a lot back. But it doesn't provide demand charge reduction and backup power. Okay, so let's look at some costs here. The total cost of the system, this is the hardware cost that an installer is going to buy. It's not what they're going to sell to you because they got to make money. The total cost of the system was about $3,200 plus tax and freight. So the Enphase battery, about $2,000. The bracket for mounting it on the wall, $80. The metering system, $600. The consumption monitoring thing, $20. And now options here, you can get a gateway that's cell modem connected, and that's about $1,100. So here in California, that total works out to be about $3,600 with tax and freight. Now, as volumes go up, or if the installers are buying these things cheaper, maybe it's going to be a few $100s less. And it's also going to be less if you have a relatively new Enphase system that already has the gateway, this thing called the metered combiner box in the gateway. So some people have that, some people may not. Most of the customers at Cinnamon Solar that we've been installing this thing for Enphase for a long time, they don't have it, but that's okay. All right. Now, the other big benefit is the installation cost is relatively low. I mean, because it's really simple. We don't have to do a lot of the battery backup. We don't need to put in a backup power loads, and the permitting straightforward. So in terms of these costs for installing it and designing it, you got to remember, solar installers have a design cost. They got to figure out what to do. So design, relatively cheap, less than $100. Installation, 2 guys can do it in a morning. Configuration, not that bad. It's only going to take a few hours to configure. So the total installation cost probably less than $1,000. Now, remember that the solar installers have to make money on this. So I'd expect that the total cost to a homeowner for a small Enphase system is going to be $4,000 to $5,000. Now, the nice thing is you can add more units very, very inexpensively. So if you wanted to put in a 5 kilowatt system, it's probably going to, I'm just going to kind of guess here, it's probably going to be less than $10,000. And that's pretty reasonable when you look at the realistic cost of installers. And I see manufacturers quoting installation prices. I mean, I cringed when I saw this one recently. They say a 75-pound battery storage system could be installed by one person in an hour. I mean, I laugh because it takes an hour just to load the truck and get there and back to a location. One person can't install something that weighs 75 pounds. It's probably going to take 2 days by the time everything's wired up. So the Enphase system I really like because it's very straightforward and it's very modular. So you could, as a homeowner, put in one and you say, hey, I want to get another unit. Your installer is going to be able to come back in like 2 hours, hang another one on the wall. It's going to be really, really simple. All right. Now, the other good thing about Enphase is they do a terrific job of documentation, training, and support. They've been doing this for a long time. They got a very professional, easy-to-use website. They've got a really good suite of software tools that make it easy to size the system. The installer doesn't have to guess. That make it easy to configure the system. And these configurations can get kind of tricky. And remember, you got electricians that want to hook this thing up, and then suddenly they need to take an IT course to figure out how to connect these things. Well, Enphase makes it pretty simple. And they also have a really great website so that homeowners and businesses can see how this thing's working. All right. So when we get back, we're going to talk more about the training and support that's necessary for the Enphase system, as well as a lot of the other installation details. What's it take to do the nuts and bolts of installing this? But, in the meantime, let's talk a bit about solar for your home or your business. At Cinnamon Solar, we've been installing solar in Silicon Valley since 2001. We've got thousands of happy customers. So check out our website or check out our 5-star reviews at Yelp. Not only do we design and install systems, but we've been providing maintenance for solar customers for over 15 years. So if you have a solar power system and it needs maintenance, even if we didn't install it, give us a call and we'll help you out. So if you're interested in a rooftop solar system or a battery storage system for your home or business, give us a call at 408-883-7000 or join us at one of our next free home solar battery storage seminars in Campbell, California. So we do these seminars every month. It's a free seminar. They last for a couple hours. Hey, we got coffee, bagels, and donuts. And you can really see what it takes. You can see these systems. You can see how they're attached to the roof. You can touch and feel solar panels. You can get your detailed questions answered by our technicians and our salespeople. All right, now we're going to dig into some of the details of the Enphase battery storage system. This is going to be a little techie, and the techie homeowners are going to be interested, and obviously a lot of installers are going to be interested too. But let's kind of dive into the documentation, the training, and support. Now here, Enphase gets excellent grades when it comes to the backup services that they provide along with their storage system. Now, not only the modular nature of the system is inherently simple. You can put in one 1.2 kilowatt hour battery. You can put in 4, adding up to almost 5 kilowatt hours of battery. So that's pretty easy. The documentation is good. They've got great support on the website, and they have regular training and webinars for their systems. And sometimes people may have a question, so they have a support team that's available in North America at 877-797-4743, and that's available Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 5 p.m. So that pretty much covers the whole country from 9 to 5. Now, the training and support is good. Now, let's talk about, this is one of the idiosyncrasies of battery storage systems. Now, these are large lithium-ion batteries. They have special shipping requirements. So keep in mind the Enphase AC batteries, UN 38.3 certified for shipping worldwide. So it can be shipped worldwide. Not that any installers or homeowners are going to have to worry about that. But the installers are going to have to make sure that they follow the right procedures for shipping this 55-pound battery from their warehouse to the job site. They can be also shipped by FedEx and UPS. And, it's something that it's hand carryable, or maybe 60 pounds or so with the box. Maybe you put it in a cart. So it's manageable. We're not talking about a battery system that weighs 150 pounds. All right, now, as far as the installation details, here's what we installed, and we did this test system at our office in Campbell. It's a commercial building, so we had to make a few little adjustments to make sure that we could install a residential system there. The system at the office is a 3-phase 208 service, but we can still hook it up to 120-volt power. And the system that we had at the office is we already have 5 Enphase microinverters. It's kind of a mix of their old and their new technology. And we also have 5 microinverters from other manufacturers. So this is a real mixed environment. And the Enphase battery storage system kind of works seamlessly with that. So to size the right number of batteries, you have Enphase provides an AC battery sizing tool. Candidly, we didn't use it. We just put in one battery. We wanted to do a test. But for homeowners, the information describing your home's energy use profile, how many kilowatt hours you're using during the day, in the evening, your energy costs, you can kind of plug that in, and then the software will recommend the optimal number of AC batteries to save you the optimal amount of money. It really depends on when you're using power and how much you're using it. So this AC battery sizing tool is pretty cool, but this is something that your installer's kind of familiar with and they're going to use. Now, what else did we install? It's not just hanging this battery on the wall. We needed to install a single 20-amp dual pole breaker. So this is a circuit breaker that's connected to the AC battery, or that one breaker can be connected to multiple AC batteries. And that's where the power kind of goes in and out. It's feeding AC power into the battery, and when the battery's running, feeding power back into the grid. Obviously, there's wiring and conduit, and we had to run some Ethernet wiring from the battery to the control system. It's called an Envoy S metered gateway. So it depends on where you're installing it. So East Coast, a lot of people put these things on the inside, but on the West Coast, the meter and some of the circuitry is on the outside. So Enphase provides something called an outdoor combiner box. And this is a pretty good box. It's weatherproof. It allows you to install the electronics for the battery outdoors. And the battery should go indoors, but the electronics is all kind of in this nice little enclosure. And then it also provides cellular monitoring. And I'm a big fan of cellular monitoring because you don't have a problem if somebody's internet connection goes down. It just works great. It's just like seamless. So the cellular monitoring's built into the Envoy S in that Enphase combiner box. So the way we install this is the battery's on indoors, and you can install the Envoy S and the combiner box outdoors near the electric meter. Also, since there's only one real key piece of electrical equipment to install, permitting's much simpler than a traditional DC coupled battery backup system. Because that's a lot more complicated. You need a backup subpanel, you're going to have batteries, you're going to have an inverter, things are a lot of separate pieces. Enphase has everything built into one little 55-pound box. And once again, the downside of the Enphase system is it's AC coupled, you don't have backup power. Now what I found is, when we have power failures, the one we had earlier this year, it went for 4 days in the rain. Even if I would have had a DC coupled solar system, there wasn't enough sun to charge up the battery. So having a generator is still probably a good idea, and it's relatively inexpensive. Okay, now, other things in addition to hanging the Enphase battery storage system on the wall and putting in the gateway, the metering's very important. So there's two kinds of meterings that are metering that's included with the Enphase system. We're metering the consumption of the house. So there's these things called current transducers that are installed around the incoming AC power legs from the utility. So there's two incoming power legs, usually both 120 volts. We put these current transducers around there, and then the wires from those current transducers go into the Envoy gateway. That's the gateway that kind of does the interpretation, sends it up to the internet. So that way we can measure how much power is being consumed or even sold back to the utility. The other thing that we're measuring is how much power is being produced by any existing photovoltaic solar system. So there's one production metering current transducers that's installed around one of the lines that's connected to the solar system. In this case, we have a bunch of microinverters. So we put the CT around the power line that's coming from this batch of microinverters. That way we can monitor that too. So we monitor how much we're producing, and we can monitor how much we're buying or selling to PG&E, and then kind of the net is what's being used in the home, right? So if we're generating 1,000 watts from the solar system and we're buying 3,000 watts from the utility, the house is using a total of 4,000 at that time. All right, now, and keep in mind that the production metering CT works with any PV system. So even if you have an old SMA system, it's pretty straightforward to put this thing in. It doesn't need an Enphase microinverter. All right, these CTs are a little tricky to install. That's what the electricians do. Now, the gateway, it's called the Envoy S gateway. That's the brains of the system. All the wiring has to go into that unit, and I recommend that thing be installed inside the Enphase combiner box. So that Enphase S gateway, it connects to the internet in three ways, either via Wi-Fi, so it can connect into your home internet, via an Ethernet cable that connects into your home internet, or the only thing we do at Cinnamon Solar is we use cellular because we don't have to worry about somebody's internet connection. If somebody changes their internet provider or replaces their router, it doesn't generate a service call from us because the cellular is completely independent. All right. Now, mounting and wiring the Envoy S gateway was straightforward, complicated, but pretty straightforward once all the proper wires were identified. So this is a tricky thing. First few times it's going to be tricky for any installer. Once they get the hang of it, it's pretty straightforward. Okay, things installed, it's up and running. Now we have to configure it. So Enphase has an installer toolkit that also works on your cell phone that allows you to configure the system, so you can set it for the kind of power you're using, and you can also begin to adjust it for what your electric rates are. And that's really important. Now, keep in mind, the Enphase system is not designed for commercial systems using 208 volt 3-phase power. It's designed for home systems that are using 240 volt power. It's called split phase. So you have two incoming wires from a utility, both at 120 volts. That's where the 240 goes. Every plug in the house is getting 120 volts, and only your dryer and your heating system, your air conditioner and your stove may get to 240 total. So all pretty straightforward. So once it's all installed, we are then able to configure the homeowner's system, the information about the house, about maybe the solar that's used. The exact electric rates are all configured on this toolkit that connects into their website. And that's an important thing to do because we need to make sure that Enphase software knows what electric rate you're on, knows what time periods those electric rates hit, and knows what the prices are at those time frames. So that all has to get keyed in. And, unfortunately, as those electric rates change year by year, they're going to have to be updated. But that's not really that big a deal. It's something that might take, you as a homeowner about half an hour. Once you kind of get the hang of it, you just see what your electric rates are and you just update all those time periods. But what's really, really cool is once it's installed, you can go to the website. And I'm looking at our website right now that we have in our office, and I can see how much the solar's generating. Obviously it kind of goes up. Starts in the morning, it peaks around 12 or 1 o'clock, and it goes down. And then I can see how much power is being generated by being stored in the battery. I can see the state of charge of the battery. I can see when the battery's delivering excess power to the house, and then when the battery's discharged, and we're pretty much pulling all the power from PG&E. Now, operation maintenance, this is another reason why I like the Enphase system. It was all pretty simple. It's all automatic. There's not a lot to change. You don't have to worry about, adding water to batteries or making a lot of configuration changes. And the installer also generally has access remotely. So if there's any questions, the installer is able to access it through the web portal using the cellular connection. All right, so in conclusion, Enphase has a really good track record for releasing stable, well-engineered, and well-documented products. So I expect the Enphase storage system to be one of the more reliable and user-friendly battery storage systems on the market. And the fact that its price point is relatively low at the beginning, that it's a really good entry-level battery storage system. The downside, it doesn't provide backup power. But some people may not want backup power. Some people may not want to spend the extra $5,000 or $10,000 it's going to cost for a backup power system. And believe me, that's what it's really going to cost. So it's a nice way to get started. Now, also keep in mind, all the costs that I quoted are before incentives. So California's got incentives for battery storage systems. There's federal tax credits that may be applicable to battery storage systems. So keep in mind your installer is going to be able to give you the real update on the lower cost for these systems. And they're getting to the point which they're cost effective. Okay, that's all the time we have on this week's Energy Show. Thanks to all of our listeners for tuning in. And if you missed any of today's show, you can always go to our website at cinnamonsolar.com and listen to the podcasts.
So, you want to save the world with clean energy? Make money doing it? Confused about the economic and technical realities of residential and commercial solar, batteries, heat pumps, EVs? Want the real-world scoop on new energy technologies, not manufacturer hype? Then tune in to the Weekly Energy Show, hosted by Barry Cinnamon. Insights from Barry's 40-plus years in the solar and energy industry will help you understand the future ways we'll generate and consume energy. And now, here's Barry.